Coming up, some changes for medical marijuana in Kentucky.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Supporters of medical marijuana say today was a win after Governor Andy Beshear signed an executive order allowing patients who meet certain requirements to have the drug. The action comes after months of debate and failed legislation from the General Assembly earlier this year. But as Chad Hedrick reports, supporters say there's still work to be done.
It is clear that Kentuckians want medical cannabis.
Signing an executive order Tuesday that loosens restrictions on medical cannabis in Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear says it is past time lawmakers make it a law.
Today's action means that Kentuckians suffering from these chronic and terminal conditions will soon be able to get the help they need without living in fear of being charged with a misdemeanor.
The order permits Kentuckians with certain severe medical conditions such as cancer, MS, PTSD, or terminal illnesses to possess up to 8 ounces of medical cannabis legally bought in another state.
These are actions that I can take as governor to provide access to medical cannabis and relief to those who need it to better enjoy their life without pain.
Beshear says current treatments often include highly addictive opioids, an epidemic that has plagued Kentucky, where more than 2,100 Kentuckians died from overdoses last year.
A recent study showed a 64% reduction in opioid use among chronic pain patients who used medical cannabis. Yet for years, including this last legislative session, medical cannabis has failed to pass, even as nearly 90% of Kentuckians now favor it.
The order goes into effect January 1st, 2 days before lawmakers return to Frankfort.
That was Chad Hedrick reporting. Now, to emphasize, today's order does not legalize medical marijuana in Kentucky. It just gives options for patients who have to travel out of state for the treatment. It comes after an advisory panel toured the state talking to Kentuckians, and an online portal garnered more than 3,500 comments, with 98% in support of the measure.
Watching a system pushing out of the mountains this evening as we continue to watch, well, clouds stay put throughout the region. It was a mild day in some parts of the country, but not here. Low to mid 40s throughout the region these were our highs today, in the low to mid 40s. And at this point, they haven't changed a whole lot. We're still in the low to mid 40s this evening, and with the cloud cover hanging on, it wouldn't surprise me if some things stay put here for a little while. A couple of stray showers working through parts of the region. These shouldn't last long. They'll be on the way out as our system continues to march its way up the East Coast. We will continue to see a few showers, but mostly it's just going to be cloud cover for us tonight. Down into the mid-30s at our coolest, with mostly cloudy skies and rather cold conditions. Details on when some sunshine could return to the forecast in a few minutes. Steve?
Right, Evan, thank you. McGoffin County school officials say 11 of the 19 people injured in yesterday's school bus crash have been treated and released from the hospital. 7 students and the bus driver are still being treated after their bus went off the road and landed on its side down an embankment. School psychologist Barry Adkins says counselors are available for students if needed.
You can talk about a safety net in policies and in politics. The real safety net comes in when it's person to person. So the way I would say it is that we've been through a lot. We went through a lot this week, but we are strong. And that we are strong in the sense that we care about each other here.
Many people across the region wore maroon today to support the McGoffin County school community. Kentucky Power plans to retire 9 miles of power lines between Prestonsburg and Middle Creek to install upgraded lines. On Tuesday, they held a town hall to inform the public and hear from local landowners. WYMT's Keaton Hall was there.
Some of the power lines near Prestonsburg have been in use since the 1940s. Kentucky Power now has plans to replace a 9-mile stretch and bring those lines into the 21st century.
There'll be different materials, so they're more resilient, and overall should improve power reliability for this part of eastern Kentucky.
But the new improved lines will need a new route. So Kentucky Power held a town hall on Tuesday to inform the public on a couple possible paths.
I wanted to make sure that, it wasn't going to be a bother, really.
Anita Sloan lives near one of the new proposed routes and wanted to see how Kentucky Power is handling the project.
It's a, very much a back and forth, and we work with them closely and always work to find a satisfactory outcome for everybody.
Kentucky Power will work with affected landowners to come to an agreement, since there will be some who have to concede property.
It's not a matter of concessions as much as it's a matter of necessity. If you want better service, you got to work with them. And the thing about it is, they can work with them.
Kentucky Power is taking public input on the path until December 5th. And while there are some who are concerned about the project, Sloan is looking forward to better service.
I'm actually looking forward to it. I think it's positive.
Construction is expected to begin in early 2024. In Prestonsburg, Keaton Hall, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, Kentucky Power plans to hold a similar event in Pikeville, where they also plan to build a new substation and power lines near Myra. That event is on December 6th. As the days grow colder, mental health professionals are reminding everyone of the signs of seasonal depression and the ways you can combat it. Mental health professionals say seasonal depression can look a lot like regular depression, with loss of or increased appetite, a change in sleep patterns, or trouble starting the day. Scott Lockard with the Kentucky River District Health Department says it's important to start a dialogue with loved ones if you experience these issues or notice someone else struggling.
If somebody had a broke arm, we would automatically comment and say, "Oh, how'd you break your arm? Is there anything I can do? How can I help?" Well, the same thing. If we notice somebody's mental health issues are really not where they need to be, don't just ignore it because you think that, well, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to pry. Ask your friend if they're okay.
Lockard adds that staying engaged with friends and family and keeping a clean home environment are just a few ways to combat seasonal depression. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, former President Donald Trump officially announces he is running again in 2024.
Plus, chilly air continues in the mountains through much of this week. The latest on when we see low temperatures back in the 20s. That's on the way.